Listeners, we've got a new episode for you today, and we've gone remote, we've gone rogue. Soph and I are at somebody's yard that you've probably seen before, you've definitely heard before, but probably speaking to us about a slightly different topic today than she speaks about normally. Today, we are at Olympic riders yard, Laura Tomlinson. Laura, thank you for joining us. It's really nice to be with you.
Thank you so much for doing this with us.
Thanks for coming to see me.
We are quite scared though, as you know.
I've explained to Laura how nervous I am today.
Yeah,
she knows.
We are scared, but Laura's promised not to bite us. So
no biting today.
Well done, listeners, for joining us on this wild ride. In this episode, we are going to explore, obviously, a little bit of your career history to date. But really the reason why we're all here is because we want to know how you juggle your kids, all four of them. There are a lot of people out there at the moment that are probably wondering how on earth they even get back on board a horse, let alone compete. And so we really like to get some insight.
With one child.
Yeah, with one child.
Let alone four.
And international competition, and a husband that is probably astray at all moments of the day with his polo as well. So that's what we're going to talk about today. I'd like to take it back to the very beginning, if I may, and talk to you about your childhood and early years. Less, Freudian and more like more. You're from a horsey family. Well, tell us what that was like growing up with your dad being who he was.
Well, to me, he was just dad. But I was, lived any sort of horsey girl's dream, really. I grew up with, ponies, horses on tap. They're all it was just normal to me as a way of life. It was never a choice, really. It was just what I knew. I was into all sorts of other sports as well, and played a lot of sport elsewhere, but it was never a choice for me. Riding was always my calling more than hobby or a fun sport that I played. So I right from the very early years, I didn't get to compete much as a kid. I was the fourth child, so I was sort of an afterthought, and most of the time I don't think anyone knew where I was. But I just loved spending time on the yard, and if I wasn't riding a pony myself, I was rolling bandages or cleaning tack or doing whatever I was allowed to do.
For some reason, then I thought you were going to say rolling down hills.
Did that too.
Sorry, listeners, I just want to say, Laura Tomlinson being the afterthought, this is actually baffling me right now.
The fourth child.
Okay. And
I don't think my parents paid a whole lot of attention to my riding until I was older, because I was the fourth kid. I know what it's like now to have four kids. So so our head girl at the time was the one that taught me to ride and did everything. She's actually Tracy Robinson, who was the dressage coach for the British eventing team for a long time. But back in the day, she was our head girl, and so she taught me to ride and gave me my lessons, and I just did my thing. And once a year I was taken to our local pony club show, and that's all I ever did, really. Didn't do much pony club, never did camp because we were always away. But the competition side of it came to me later. Originally it was just all about, my ponies.
Oh, lovely.
And what was it that gave you that sort of enduring love for your ponies and I guess horses now?
I don't know, maybe because I didn't compete too much when I was younger. I don't know, maybe I have no idea, really. It's I see it with my kids and friends' kids now. Some kids just have it and they take all the tumbles and it just doesn't even register or bother them. My eldest is like that. And then you've got some where you can see that they take a tumble and they go, this isn't actually that much fun. And I don't think you can
It's not for me.
Yeah, I don't think you can kind of teach that side of things. It's either it's in you.
It either sticks or it doesn't. Yeah.
That's so interesting, actually, because that is a real nature nurture thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like the question of if it doesn't matter what family you're born into, some people don't want to do it.
Yeah. It's just not for you.
And I think that, I've got 3 older brothers, which probably also played a huge impact on the person I became, and that need to compete and need to prove that I was you know, every bit as important or as good as any guy, and I think that probably drove me to be a highly competitive person, and probably toughened me up a lot as well. Yeah, that nature versus nurture thing, I think that's a question where as a parent you're always sort of looking at things going, you know, how much influence, yeah, exactly, and how much influence do I really have?
The bad behaviour is definitely nature.
Always the dad. No, all the dad.
Or the dad, yeah. That's come from them.
Laura, you said that you sort of did other sports outside of horses. Can you tell us a little bit about that? What were you doing outside of horsing?
Well, at school I played on all sports teams. My other big passion was hockey. I love my hockey. I love my skiing in the winter, and tennis in the summer. But sort of as far as team sports go, it was very much hockey. I even play hockey again now with yeah.
Do you find time?
I know. It's in the evening once the kids go. It's like on a Tuesday night. The kids go to bed, and I drive back to school, which is actually where my kids go, is my old school, and a bunch of other parents who also, you know, used to play hockey. We all play together, and it's a really, really fun vibe.
That is so much fun.
Yeah.
Oh,
that must be a real like blast from the past though as well, to see like these faces that you've probably seen in your childhood too. Wow, that's so cool. And when did you start to compete in dressage solely? Because you did other sports as well.
I was more into. I hated dressage when I was younger. I didn't get into dressage till I was about 13.
Okay.
And then it was sort of accidentally as well. My parents gave a helping shove. I think they were a bit
towards it,
fed up of following me around cross-country courses, and it was where they were at by then. My dad was in the dressage by then. He'd come from eventing though. And before that, I think certainly for someone like, I know some kids love dressage right from the start, but for a character like mine, definitely needed to mature a bit to appreciate the sort of the discipline and the perfectionism of it. Certainly as a kid, I was more head collar, no saddle, gallop around the fields, and then certainly the eventing had a bigger appeal, but I kept doing really well in the dressage. I kept leading the dressage at events, which was much to my disgust. And then my parents were like, okay, you know, why don't we get a dressage pony as well as the event pony and see? And I was very quickly on the British pony team for the Europeans, and we did really well, and I had a really fun crew of other kids at the time, and it was just, from there on, I'd said to my dad when we left, the championship was in Sweden, and I said to him on the way, I said, when we get home, I'm going back to eventing though. But my event pony at the time was quite young, so she wasn't quite ready for that level. And but then when I came back again, I was playing still a lot of hockey then as well, and GCSEs were coming and all of that, so I couldn't do everything anymore. And then dressage seemed to just take over. I guess the success in it then drove me, and by that point you're doing a little bit more interesting stuff within the dressage, and
you're quite good at it.
Yeah, you are quite good at it.
I was quite good at it.
Did it right.
Made the right choice. A lot less broken bones as well. So.
Wow, exactly.
Do you remember sort of your last cross country, you know, when you were eventing competitively?
I don't, but then I got an event horse after the Beijing Olympics, just for fun again. I got just a young novice eventer, but sadly he got arthritis really young and wasn't able to compete for very long, so I didn't get to do that much with him.
Could you imagine rocking up to your being?
I was genuinely just thinking that.
And Laura Tomlinson.
Yeah, but this was the funny thing. So I got him on the cheap because he was like my little, side project just for me. So I bought a fairly inexpensive event horse. My main priority was that it jumps well, because that was the bit that was, I wasn't really doing anymore. So I would get there and everyone would be like, oh, this dressage is going to be well, it wasn't, because I couldn't get him on the bits half the time. It was so disaster. So
oh no,
yeah.
Well, if you couldn't do it, there was no way for any of us.
It took some time, I can tell you. But so that was actually when I did. Well, back then novice was called something. It was different. What used to be novice, whatever that is now.
Yeah, what is? Oh,
I can't remember.
I'm not at that level, Laura. But what I was just about to say is that I told Katie about this. I went and did like a little tiny unaffiliated one-day event after I had Olive. I think she was about 4 months actually, really young. And I was like, I'm just going to be really low key. Like, it was an 80, I think. And I'm trotting around and I get into the cross country warm up, trot around, put my number down. And Laura Collin is taking the numbers. And I was like, why? She was like, he's left.
But most of the time when the likes of that sort of person are riding at the lower levels, it's because, they're on something young and that, so it's not.
Yeah.
My daughter said that to me the other day. She was like, you shouldn't be. I went and won a Prix St George with a homebred, and she was like, you shouldn't be riding the local shows. I was like, why not?
Excuse you.
Pardon?
She was like, Mummy, isn't that unfair? And I was like, well, first of all, no, because it's been a while since I was at the very top. And also, I was like, we get in dressage, you get put into gold, silver, and you have your categories.
That's not
so
that old now, though, is
no,
it? The gold,
exactly.
silver, bronze
So
thing, yeah.
I was like, I have to compete against other riders of a certain level. She was very concerned with the fairness of this.
Poor other riders.
Bless her. Looking out for the
know,
rest
but
of
I was
us.
like, and also I'm on a young horse, and it's not like I'm taking in.
One more question I was going to ask you about sort of your childhood and your parents was, did you, once you got into dressage and you were doing all right and you get onto pony teams, you're thinking, were your parents, because of who your parents were, did you feel pressured in any way that you had to perform to a certain level?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Did you?
Oh yeah, it's awful.
Do you think Annalise will get that?
Yeah, it's
you?
horrible. You can't really protect them from it. But it's that thing. You've got the luck, the privilege, you're in a great position, but that comes with the fact that people are going to be mean and bitchy and watch you, and you've got pressure sometimes from others, but also pressure from yourself that you don't want to be underperforming when everyone goes, oh, but they've got it all on a plate for them. So that's something I certainly, not pressure from my parents themselves, but obviously that creates pressure. And I remember once rocking up to a pony club event and our trailer had broken down and I had to go in quite a nice lorry and I was mortified.
Were you? Oh.
We've gone in this, and there's my pony getting off a smart lorry and I was like, oh God, it just can't get any worse. Whereas most people would probably be like, I got to go in the
Just
nice
one
fancy
day,
lorry. But it's
yeah.
like when you're that person, then you sort of feel like, oh.
You just want the ground to swallow you up a little bit.
Yeah.
And I guess the other thing as well is, there is that external pressure, but horses are still horses at the end of the day. They're going to do weird and wonderful things wherever you go.
Yeah, especially ponies. I mean,
Oh my goodness.
when you're on ponies, you're on ponies. It doesn't really matter. Yeah,
And they're humbling, aren't they? Horses?
Absolutely.
Doesn't matter how big your boots you get. At some point, you're going to get bitten somewhere on the arse.
Yeah.
No, exactly. It's something that I'm quite conscious of. It's mainly relevant to my eldest at the moment because she's the one that's really starting to do stuff in the riding scene. My other daughter's only 4, she's about to turn 5, so that's still very much lead rein and moments off the lead rein, but it's all just basically staying on. Whereas my 9-year-old's really into it, and she plays polo as well, and you can see it already at Pony Club Polo. There's definitely.
Yeah.
You can tell they're gonna but luckily she's got cousins who are also same family, same.
So they're going to have the same pressure.
They play together, but they will get people, that maybe aren't that polite about things. And we had it actually at Pony Club, the polo championships, and last summer, other parents jokingly asking if we'd paid the umpires and things. You just think,
no.
wow. So yeah, that's around and that's there. But I think that's probably in every sport, I imagine. You're gonna have people, it's usually the parents, not the kids, that are get a bit funny about stuff. And I think that's all character building. You've got to learn to swallow that stuff without rising to it and letting it affect the kind of person you want to be.
It's really hard, isn't it, for, I was thinking about this the other day, for your kiddies. How do you protect them from,
you can't,
the external pressures? How do you allow them to be a character building experience without over sheltering them or upsetting them or, I guess, swooping in?
I'm going through that at the moment, and I know it's different, but it translates as they get older. Olive's learning to walk. Like she's just about getting there, and she is falling over constantly and rolling around on the floor and like just, you know, putting her fingers in plugs and everything. And there is a limit to how much you should let them do, but you have to let them do stuff, otherwise they'll never learn. And I guess it's the same as they get older with Annalise. Like she's got to be exposed to some of it, because otherwise when she gets to an age, she'll be like,
Yeah, no, and you know, I think I always weigh it up with the opportunity that, like myself, I was blessed with a lot of opportunity, and
you're fine.
You've got to learn to make the most of that, and not waste it. If people talk, especially now, I mean, that what terrifies me now is social media, because we didn't even have that growing up, but now
it is scary.
It's pretty toxic, and people on social media they terrify me. Yeah.
But that's part of the reason why we've set this up, is because when we were both pregnant, we were chatting away and there was nothing out there. I was Googling constantly, like, what do I do with my horse when I have this baby? How am I going to get through this? I don't know. And there was nothing for the horsey community really there, apart from, you know, a lot of judgment. And we were like, we want to create a space where there isn't.
It's amazing when you're like, I remember being pregnant and like suddenly I was sort of public property, and everyone feels like they have a right to tell you what you should and shouldn't be doing, and everyone has an opinion on it, and
whether you should be touching your horse,
should
whether
you
you
be
should be
riding already, again already afterwards or not, or should you be doing this and should you be doing that, and it's like, wow. I didn't actually ask you.
Thanks for the advice, but
Thank you for the unsolicited advice. Appreciate
exactly.
that.
It's bizarre the way people, especially nowadays, have this sort of feeling that they have a right to give their opinion on. Well, I suppose it's the comment boxes on social media are asking for that, aren't they? I wish they hadn't put that in. I think.
Well, tell us what you're thinking. No, don't tell us what you're thinking.
Nobody. I don't think any of. I think there's probably a very small percentage of them that would say it to your face.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So.
Yeah. So obviously, Annalise is now. She's getting to that sort of, I guess, pre-adolescent stage, pre-teen stage, because she's 9 and getting up there in the world. How I'm kind of sort of linking this to your childhood. Do you see any moments of your childhood or teen struggles in her at the moment now? Is there anything where you're looking at her and thinking,
oh yeah, really, I mean, I was the youngest, she's the oldest, so we're different from that point of view anyway, but also she's 9. You know, she's still
a baby. Really.
She's still little, really.
Yeah.
Oh, that must be lovely. I know a lot of people at the moment that sort of pony club friends that have maybe feel like their children are a little bit overexposed. Do you know what I mean when I say that? So they're a bit older than their 10 years or a bit older than their 12 years.
I mean, knowledge-wise, maybe on some things she is. She's got a few mates who have older siblings, and I just keep thinking those little shits. You know, like that would have been me. I would have been that one that told everyone about what sex is and stuff. And there's Annalise who comes home and I'm like, oh god. But sorry, I've gone there. But on the other hand, she's still very much a little girl that you know puts her jeans or her britches on and is still. She's not at all like, you know, you see some kids at that age that already walk around like little Barbie dolls. She's
with the makeup and you're thinking, I can't do that.
No. No. So she's she's very much just a little, you know, a young 9-year-old as well in many ways. I think the countryside and horses and stuff helps with that.
That's what I'm really hoping.
Yeah.
So that really is, listeners, the advice from Laura Tomlinson: keep your child young by never exposing them to anything other than a horse.
I did not say that.
Buy them a pony. You heard it here first.
But yeah, definitely sport, any sport. For me,
I agree with that. Actually,
it gives them discipline, teaches them. Especially nowadays, our kids are so protected and so, you know, they go to school and no one's, you know, the first couple of years, no one's allowed to win and everyone's a, you know.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, to a point. Not.
I wish high school had been a bit like that.
But
you get a prize too because you came last. Like, yes.
We do get that when we go to dressage.
Yeah, I do. No, I don't get a prize, but I do come last.
Well, I know. I think that sport teaches you to win. Well, hopefully teaches you to win well and lose well, and that
Yeah.
actually sometimes things go wrong and you have to pick yourself up again. And I think nowadays in our protected society over here, a lot of kids don't really get the chance to fall, and there's an excuse or a label for everything. For the kids now, that it's almost it's difficult. It's trying to find the balance between all the good things about how we are nowadays and much more understanding, much more able to notice when kids are struggling and all the positives out of that, but without going so far that a kid never has the chance to get through a struggle or sort of. And I think that's where sport's great, because sport is sport, and unfortunately at some point, even when the parents or the teachers are trying to say everyone did super well, the kids still know if they came last in the race or first. So
no hiding it.
There's no hiding it, is there? So it's great. Well, of course we should celebrate everyone wanting to take part and kids moving and but also for those that care about sport is a great place for them to learn how to deal with their inner struggles.
Yeah. Talking of sport, we're not going to spend a long time on this because we're not here to talk about this. We're here and you've been interviewed probably about 12 million times about this. But I just wanted to talk to you quickly about the Olympics. You went very young, didn't you, really?
Well, my first Olympics, I was very young.
Yeah,
they weren't so
quite
great. Learned a lot. Second Olympics were better, if you want to talk about them.
I read actually, because the second Olympics, and no offence to my little girl, because she should be the best day of my life, but she isn't. The best day of my life. The best day of my life was definitely Greenwich Park and watching you and our team, and it was just unbelievable, and seeing Alf dance basically to the Lion King. And we were all crying, and it was just amazing. I just want to know really how you felt after that. Like, how amazing was it?
Yeah, I had a lot of different emotions.
I can imagine.
Whirlwind of emotions. I think initially it was relief that because back then there was pressure on us, because for the first time, we looked like a team that could win. So first of all, it was just relief. On the first couple of days after the freestyle, it was sheer joy, because I knew it was Alf was 17 at the time. I knew it was one of our last big moments, and he just gave me, I had no idea what my score would be when I finished the last centre line, but I was already emotional because I just knew he'd given me his absolute best, and he was an absolute dude of a horse.
He wasn't always though, was he?
He was always a dude. He was just misunderstood.
He's a he's big chestnut girl.
He was very flighty and skittish, but never he was never nasty.
Never tried to get you off.
No, he never got me off.
Did he?
He fell over with me once. We fell down once together on the road because he was like,
dancing.
Yeah.
He was a dancer.
He was, but he was never. He was just very hot, very flighty, and got very. His flight instinct when he got scared of something was very quick. But there was never anything nasty about him.
And how did he cope with that atmosphere
in
London? That's
where Olympics were always trickier for Alf, because most big internationals and even other championships, you get quite a lot of time in the main arena before you compete, whereas at the Olympics you get 2 lots of 10 minutes and that's it. So
I did not know that.
That's why we got better and better each day in London. And although the first days were good enough to get us our team medal, they weren't as good a performance, for example, as Kentucky, the World Games in Kentucky. He would have been better on the first days as well. But then by the freestyle, he'd been in the arena enough, and although freestyle originally wasn't his best thing because of the music and the atmosphere, he sort of just dug deep and was with me 110%, and that's why I felt so emotional at the end of it, because it was Alf and it was freestyle, and he just really...
He bossed it.
Yeah.
Oh, he...
absolutely bossed it.
And I mean, that
it was
music,
a lot of horse to keep together, and it was like, whoa, but yeah.
You could not have chosen better music for him. Like that, I think that's any time I've ever think of that dressage music, it's just him doing the Lion King dance. He should have been in the film.
I showed this to my my 4-year-old about a year ago, actually, so she would have still been 3. Because my kids aren't that aware of that time or that impressed by it. Well, no, that's anyway, yeah. So I showed Hanny the video of because she was asking me about music and stuff, and I showed her the video of Alf's Lion King freestyle, and she looked at me and said, "You're very good at steering, mummy." Yes.
What a compliment!
I know.
Wow.
I know. And then she said, "Can I have that outfit one day?" And I was like, "Sure."
Absolutely. It's not just about steering.
It's all about it. Well, the top hat, sadly, no more, but I didn't have the heart to tell her that.
So no, you can't.
So sweet.
I mean, I could literally talk to you all day about the Olympics and your amazing career. I just want to quickly ask you if you still see Alf and if the kids can see him.
Yeah.
And we saw on your Instagram the other day that someone
My
took
yard,
the
who
girls
hasn't
down
met him
there.
yet, because he's at my mum's yard still. So
He's not here.
No, he's at my mum's yard, which is 25 minutes down the road from here. So whenever I'm at mum's, obviously I see him.
Is he just retired now?
Yeah, he's been
doesn't do
retired
anything?
since 2013, end of 2013.
And then did you have Annalise the year after? So did you kind of...
I had her 2014. Yeah, I got
Yes,
married
it
end of 2013. Not end, beginning of 2013, and I had Annalise July 2014. Yeah.
And did you retire him in anticipation of having a baby?
No, he was 18 in 2013, and he wasn't a schoolmaster type or a happy hacker type. So
Shock.
I was like, and I couldn't keep going with him. As in, he wasn't going to compete anymore, and I couldn't just keep him in work just for the sake of it. And so I was like, oh, he's done his time. And so my other top horse at the time, Andretti, was the same age. So he did that year of them being 18 years old. He did with Laura Griffiths, who, well, now Laura Butler. So she got her first taste of Grand Prix with him. And then they both retired and went out in the field together. So that's what they come in at night. They're still quite pampered for old boys. They come in at night and they go out in the day together.
Oh, how lovely.
And they're really well.
How lovely.
We saw that picture and we thought, oh, we just got to ask. Like, how is he?
How he
He's
is.
really well.
He's an absolute legend, isn't he, really?
He is.
She wants to ask you about Mark a bit.
Yeah,
Oh, God.
I'm fascinated. I'm fascinated.
I was like, do you know what? I don't want to talk about men. You can talk to her about men. I've had enough of men.
I'm fascinated because, most of all, because I have a completely non-horsey husband. He basically didn't know which end was which until...
So did Mark.
until he married me. But after such an amazing kind of like high of like the Olympics, when when you're organising your wedding, was it?
Well, he didn't propose until just after the Olympics because he was waiting to see if I was good enough, I think.
Oh, rude.
Oh, thank goodness, thank you so much.
But no, he claims he had asked my dad for my hand before the Olympics, so that's his saving grace. Otherwise, I think I would have. I think it was about the time that I moved into the Olympic Village. So when everyone left, I went into the Olympic Village, and because all the other equestrians had gone, but I had commitments with Visa, who sponsored me at the time, and I went into the village and I was put in the flat with the slalom canoeists. And Mark is not a jealous guy at all. Like, I don't think I've ever managed to make him jealous, but not what I'm trying. But he called me, and he'd had to, straight after the Olympics, he'd had to go to France because he had tournaments out there. And he called me up and he's like, oh, so what are the, who are you living with? And I was like, oh, the canoeist. And he was like, oh, are they nice girls? I said, no, but they're really nice guys. Because it was, and then at that point he was like, oh, and then next time I saw him, he proposed. So that's my theory.
Get
he was
in there
like
quick.
Suddenly like, no.
Before she goes off with a canoeist.
He'd been ring shopping with,
story.
I know. No, he'd been ring shopping during the Olympics with my eldest brother because he'd just proposed a few months before to his now wife. So he was already getting things in a row. But I think that the gold medal clinched it.
Very fickle of him.
Yeah, I know. It's a sportsman, isn't it?
How did you meet Mark? And was it love at first sight? Tell us.
Well, no, because we first met when we were both at school together.
Oh, I thought you might.
Yeah, we were both
really
at the same
young.
school
Yeah.
where my kids are now. So we met. I mean, he left that school when he was 13 and I was 10, so I don't think we were in love at that stage. He was in my youngest of my 3 older brothers' year at school.
Did you fancy him?
No, because Mark didn't know. We all fancied another guy who was captain of football, who incidentally is also a dad there now. But Mark...
Aged well?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mark didn't grow till he was 18, so Mark looked like a fetus until he was about 18 years old. So I don't think anyone fancied him at that point. No.
Does he?
Yes. When I first started going out with Mark, I remember telling my brothers, and my brother that was in Mark's year was like, "Little Mark, isn't he like this big?" And I was like, "Well, obviously he's grown since then," because they hadn't seen each other since they were 13, and at that point Mark did look like a fetus. So yeah.
So fast forward, obviously not 13.
We re-met at Pizza Hut in Swindon.
Did you? Oh my goodness, no.
What a place.
What a place to meet.
Yeah,
That's
a load of
hilarious.
mutual friends. We have a lot of mutual friends, so actually it's quite lucky we
Because
didn't.
school as well.
With
Yeah.
school, and quite a few of my best mates, older brothers, are his best mates.
Oh,
just from
okay.
around here. So actually it's really lucky we didn't really meet in the meantime, because
Yeah.
we would have ruined it.
You'd have
Early
friends
on.
each other.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, or we'd have gone out and it wouldn't have worked because we were still so in different parts of the world
Yeah.
and everything. So it's probably lucky
Timing,
that
good
yeah, it's good timing. But then we were a load of mutual friends went to the cinema together, and we went to Pizza Hut in Swindon first, and he asked me for a dressage lesson.
Oh wow.
Did he
Did he actually ever do that?
Yep.
And what
That
was it like? when
His
you said-
first in, it was awful. My mum, I said to my mum, "I've got to go. Mark Tomlinson wants a dressage lesson." She was like,
Oh,
"Laura,
he doesn't
like,
want
don't
to.
be so cynical. He wants to work on flat work with his polo ponies." He
Did he
didn't.
bring polo pony?
No, I went to his.
Oh.
I went there. He got some poor polo pony that was clearly in the off season out of the field, that had been clearly tacked up to have this dressage lesson.
Oh my gosh.
I sort of watched him cant around the small indoor school at the Beaufort Polo Club, and thinking, I don't really have anything to say to this rising canter. And then
Oh, that's amazing.
it was a laugh though, and then he asked me for one more, and we went out for dinner afterwards, and then I no more dressage lessons after that.
Ever.
No.
Oh,
I was
good.
actually-
He's made me ride his horses before, but he's not asked for a dressage lesson again.
Made you ride them to help them.
Yeah.
Not just to like make you look.
No,
Yeah.
yeah.
Dare I
Wants
ask
to do
if
that.
you asked him to ride any of yours?
Hacking.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Hacking. Not
Right.
anything else. No.
My partner's in racing,
Okay.
and it drives me insane actually watching him ride, because I'm like, can you just hold your reins? Like, just goes along like a cowboy half the time. It's really frustrating. He's a
Well,
great rider.
Mark vaults onto everything.
Yes, Alex
I had
used
to
to be able
explain to him,
it's
you
too
will
old
not vault
now.
to my horse. He literally just a bounce, and then I was like, you don't want to do that to this horse.
No,
You
yeah.
die.
No, you will die. Okay, but you know, if ever we need a quick end for Mark Tomlinson, we know why.
If that ever happens, can you
Yeah.
film it?
So you probably get away with it knowing him as well. But
Do you think the fact that you were both horsey solidified your relationship, or did it, cause
to
any
be honest,
friction?
at the beginning, it was as if we had different jobs. It just had no. I'd never seen polo before I started going out with Mark. That was quite an eye-opener.
Yeah.
No, never ever seen a polo
That
match.
really surprises me,
Yeah,
actually. That your dad was. Did your dad never go?
Not to watch or anything, no.
Oh, it's so weird.
So I'd never. I always liked telling Mark that if I'd have grown up playing polo, I'd be better than him.
I mean,
I think
fair.
yeah,
He doesn't.
I mean, I would put
respond
money
to
on
that.
that.
He's very good at ignoring me when I sort of say things like that. But no, I never grew up. I never saw polo until I started going out with Mark. So that was an eye opener. But it's a different world. A completely different world. So no, I didn't really. It was nice having someone else that was a high level sportsman, because I think you understand each other, the highs and lows, or the different type of day to most people. I think that definitely helps.
yeah.
I'm quite into my sports psychology, so I'd sort of psychologicalize him when he's playing. He used to be quite an angry player. Like he used to have a bit of a with umpires and stuff, and I used to give him a very serious talking to.
Did you?
Which
Mark.
I'm gonna try.
Which I bet he took really well.
Yeah, actually, funnily enough, he did.
It sounds like
He's
taking
very
it on
good at taking on board what he wants to take on board and ignoring everything else.
So you have to
He's
get him
just
in the
got
right.
that really
Selective.
good balance, which I think all good husbands need to have.
Yeah.
They have to be able to just filter us out when we
Yeah.
need filtering out.
Selective hearing. It's like my dog. They've all got selective hearing.
Yeah.
And probably kids, actually.
I want to know as well, like when you're obviously both competing like a fair amount, you maybe less so now than you did a few years ago, but how do you balance a relationship with someone where you're all in opposite ends of the world all the time, or the country?
Well, when we first started going out, it was hard because he was in Argentina quite a few months of the year. So that was tricky, but I was still a bit more able to go for I might go for 10 days in the middle of his stint out there. And then gradually he's managed to get over here a bit more in between. 2 years in a row, we did the Florida season in the winter. So January, February, March, where he would normally, he'd normally be in Argentina and I would be here. In Florida, we could both do our thing because they've got a big polo circuit, and I took some horses out there, so that was fun. Nowadays, he's not actually out there that much anymore. He does 4 weeks this side of Christmas, and he'll probably do 4 weeks sort of March, April time. And the rest of the time, when he's competing, he's here though, because he'll drive to Cowdrey or Windsor or wherever he's playing, and then he's home. Whereas if I go to a big show, then I'm gone for 3-4 nights max, and that's maybe once every 6 weeks in the main season. So actually I'm not away that much.
It's not that much different to normal jobs.
Yeah.
Really, because you'd have to stay away. Do you know what I mean? Like with the time you're away.
Yeah, no, it's not that.
It's not
that bad. It was definitely harder for pre-kids when he was away a lot, because he was either there the whole time, or when he was gone for a long chunk. Whereas if I'm gone, I'm only gone a few nights. I'm gone maybe Wednesday to Sunday, and that's not all the time. But now when he goes away, even just 4 weeks, that's full on.
You're in with 4 kids for 4 weeks.
That's full on.
I think it is full on, but also I don't know about you guys, but when Simon's at work in the week and he's gone to Dubai for a week or something, I'm like, brilliant, I can get a routine down with this kid.
Wow.
But when he comes bowling on in, he just messes it all up.
Yeah, we always have a little readjustment period when he gets back, where I'm like, how was it that I managed to get 4 kids up and 3 kids to school on time every day when I was
Alone.
When you weren't here, and then you come back and we're late every single time.
And there's 2 of us.
Yeah. They have a bit of that, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
How would you describe Mark as a dad? So I'm just fascinated. Like, what are his strengths? What are his skills as a dad?
Oh, I mean, that's very hard to put into a nutshell. Dad, he's a very very hands-on, very loving dad. When he's around, he's very around.
Yeah.
And although he wouldn't have a clue about routines or who needs what at what time on what day, he's still very much very, I mean, I don't know, it's what we call it hands-on dad. You don't never call it a hands-on mum.
No, you don't. No, working mum. What about working dad?
He's he's very present, let's put it that way. He's very present. When he's around, he's all about it.
What did Jenny say the other day about a nappy bag?
Oh,
She
men can never pack
She was
a
like,
nappy
don't
bag.
ever trust a man to pack a nappy bag for you.
Oh God, no.
I know.
Or any bag.
Any suitcase.
Not even a weekend bag.
No.
Nothing. I know.
Nothing. Yeah.
No, that's definitely organisation, timekeeping, things like that's not where his skills lie. But I can't complain. I wouldn't have had 4 kids with him if he wasn't, He definitely isn't a baby person. Like, he doesn't notice that there is a child until they're about sort of certainly six months plus, when they start sort of
Becoming more interactive.
becoming a person and interactive. But once you've got multiple kids, that's very important, because when you're dealing with little one, the older one needs someone. And I wouldn't say a quiet bedtime routine has ever happened with Mark around. It's you know.
Have you ever seen that meme, which is the Grinch, and it's like,
Don't wind up the dog.
It's when dad goes to do just like 5 minutes before bedtime, and it's
Yes.
like the Grinch go like, "Ah." You're like, oh God, can you just stop doing that?
He likes it, throwing him in the air.
The
Just read
excitement.
her a story.
I know. You know, at least he's there, bedtime bath. Like, you know, when he's around, he's around. When he's not around, obviously, he can't really.
No,
But
well,
he's he'll cook and things like that, and he loves that the kitchen has to be clean. He can't
That
leave,
is
like,
dream.
he can't leave things out, even before he even eats the food. He has to, like, I would
hate me.
happily leave
Yeah, he would hate me.
the pots and pans until the next morning even.
Yeah.
Uni. We went to uni.
But no, Mark can't do that, so it's great. So it's you just have to wait just a moment longer, and then he's done the kitchen,
Just leave.
which is great.
That's so great.
Major OCDs about how the dishwasher's stacked.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh, I would give him the worst anxiety ever.
I'd really like to
I
borrow
do.
him.
I've got I put like all of the cups where the plates are supposed to be, and then just shut it.
I'd see. I'm more on hygiene. Like, I'm like, you know, how about washing everyone's hands once in a while, things like that. He doesn't mind about, you know, hygiene, but the dishwasher has to be perfect.
That's that.
I do think I'm going to borrow
Handy,
him
though.
to
That is
give
handy.
mine a bit of teaching. So
He can make porridge. Mark can make porridge.
great,
Yeah.
love that. So I think that's it. Enough on Mark.
Yeah, let's move on.
Poor
Let's move
Mark.
on from
Make sure he doesn't
That's
listen to
enough
this.
on Mark. We're treating him like he is perhaps your first child, but maybe let's go to your actual children.
Basically 4 kids. Like, did you want to have 4?
Can't really answer that, can I?
Can't that, no. 'Cause this
Mark
is-
really wanted 4.
You've got the perfect family, 2 boys and 2 girls.
Yeah.
But you were pregnant for a long, long time. That
Yes.
is 4. That, you know, what is it? 4 kids in 7 years. Is that
Yeah,
right?
between 9 months pregnant and 6 months breastfeeding.
Did you? I was going to ask you that.
Yeah.
Did you breastfeed all of them
Yeah.
while you were riding as well?
You are
That is-
actually
that is-
superwoman.
I found that easier because I could
It is easy.
Feed.
Sometimes it's easier, isn't it?
ride one,
You know, I'm still
come back and
breastfeeding.
feed.
She's like just over a year, and I
Oh,
can't get
really?
her off.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's that balance between, isn't it?
Yeah,
For me, it worked 6 months, and then I was like,
I don't know.
done my bit. Off you go.
You're out.
You've got yeah.
Well, once they're on solids, I was like, now you don't, you know. But I think, you know, these things, everyone, again, it's one of those topics that so many people have such huge opinions on. I think it's
It's whatever works for
has
you,
to
isn't
do
it?
what works for
Yeah.
you. So, you know, I'd say I've certainly, with the last ones, all of them, I wouldn't have been exclusive anymore at 6 months. I would have also given them a bottle,
If I had another one, I would do that.
for sure, in between, or if I was, you know, I'd have them able to take a bottle as well. I had 2 that my third child, actually, she massively refused, just as I was going back to my first big competition in Germany. Obviously, I had her with me, but I needed her to take the bottle, and she had taken a bottle, and just for that show, she obviously read
You're
my inner psyche and was like, I'm not taking a bottle. I remember in Germany, my dad went to every pharmacy he could find and got every single different type of bottle and teat we could possibly get our hands on to see what she
you
would
can get
take.
ones now that are literally look like your boob.
Yes,
like
she
get them
wouldn't
moulded
take
to your boob.
Any of it. She was like, it's not about the teat, I'm just not doing
I
it.
just want to be next to my mother's heart at all times.
Oh, God, that show, as you can imagine, was a disaster.
Good to know.
Yeah, that was great.
And we're putting it all down to her, though, yeah? Yeah.
It was her fault,
Ever
completely.
thought?
Completely. I've blamed my last summer when I was it last at some point last year when Tommy was still quite young. Well, he's still quite young, he's only 2, but I was saying to my sister-in-law, who's like super fit Ironman lady, she does like triathlon, she's mega fit, and I was like, since Tommy I've like got cellulite and I just can't get rid of it. And she was like, you can't blame Tommy. I was like, why not?
Since this one,
I was like, I will blame him.
I can blame him. He doesn't understand yet
Yeah.
either, does he?
Anyway.
It's
So,
all their fault. It is. No.
I've got something. So if you could, I don't know if you can remember because I can barely remember having Olive, and I've only got one. But if you can remember back to your first one, and she was obviously came after the wedding, the Olympics, like just years of amazingness, basically. And then I would just, how did it feel to then, because it's difficult for normal people to have a baby. You get isolated and everything else. How did it feel coming off the back of those incredible celebratory years to then be knee deep in nappies and you know, just on your own with a baby?
It wasn't so bad. I enjoyed that state. I had a pretty easy pregnancy. I was able to ride really far, and I didn't get particularly big. I was able to keep pretty fit and healthy. I wasn't sick. Was really, really tired. I remember that insane tiredness.
I was like no tiredness you have ever felt
it's like
before.
I was trying to explain it to my husband. Like, it's like
I
feel like your bones are tired. Like you just can't move.
I know. I had to call in sick to work once because I was so tired. I was like, I've got to go to bed. And there was no other way to describe it.
And then with my second, I didn't have the tiredness. That was my boy, but I had 10 days of real sickness. So I remember puking out the side of the stable. Awful. Driving Annalisa to a party and having to be sick out the car, and but only 10 days with, and then I was fine. But yeah, with Annalisa, my first, I had a pretty good pregnancy. Birth wasn't so fun, but we'll gloss over that. And then I recovered super quickly as well. I remember just being fascinated about how the body could heal that fast and bounce back that fast, and I was fascinated by that.
But do you think it helped that you are a top sportswoman, that it did bounce back that fast?
Probably. I think having a strong core made the birth harder, but made the recovery easier. Yeah. I guess I've never been someone that gets blue or has a sort of struggles with that side of things. So I think, I remember constantly being asked by when the maternity, the health visitor and the midwife, the local midwife come and check on you, they keep asking you,
are you okay?
Are you okay? Are you feeling blue? Is your husband being nice to you? And I was like, wow.
I
me another cup of tea, but other than that, all good.
I can remember those questions, and I remember I was like, I am fine. I'm just really angry with my husband, like my partner, and they were like, okay, does he need to speak to me?
The answer was yes.
The answer should have been yes. I was like, no, he's fine.
I know there is that sort of. I remember the first times I left Annalisa with Mark for a few hours, and I'd come back and he'd be like, "I've got nothing done." I'm like, yeah, I know.
Yeah, we know exactly how you feel.
It's the absolute outrage, isn't it?
Yeah.
I couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
You haven't even been able to watch an episode of this, and I'm thinking, you haven't, have you? Try doing the laundry, love.
I know, but it's I definitely didn't have a sort of a major wobble from that point of view. I remember I suppose I do remember having the moments where you feel like, gosh, this is it. My life's never going to be my own again, or I've lost
your independence.
Lost independence. But I think that's where, for me, the riding and the getting back to the horses, not necessarily just to compete, but just it was what yoga mums do, I guess. It was meditation. that is all the rage now is to find that time to. All it is the time where you feel like you. Not you as in someone to someone else, but just you. And I suppose in riding you get that equivalent of meditation, because you'll go into a flow state where you're not thinking about anything else. You're just reacting and in a flow state with what you're doing. And I think that for me was
your therapy.
My therapy. And my way of keeping my mental health intact while going through that whole change and the process.
On that same note, I rode through pregnancy, and then I stopped when I felt like I couldn't get on. And then after I had Olive, I got back on my horse really quickly afterwards, and I had really lost my bottle. My confidence, not that I was scared, but that I was so conscious of not wanting to hurt myself, because I think probably because she was still being breastfed. I just wondered if with any of yours you had lost that.
I was fine on my horses, but I was always choosy about who I rode at first. I had real problem with, after my second, I had a really bad prolapse disc with a sequester, so I couldn't walk.
Oh.
I was I was in bad shape, and they did an MRI and they said I need to have surgery on my back, and I said I'm not doing that because I'm breastfeeding and I don't want to stop and do all of that.
God.
So I ended up having to do a lot of physio, and I'm really glad I did, because otherwise, who knows if I'd have had the back surgery. It's not always
simple. Is
no.
it?
No.
And I managed to get completely, probably stronger than I was before, through all the physio and strength work I did. But there are those moments where you're like, you have to make decisions based on not what's necessarily best
For you.
or what the advice is on you, but on, something else takes over.
You talk about the kids.
Mm.
Let's check.
Luckily,
The kids took over. Yeah,
the kids. Yes. I guess it's that I don't know. I was never a baby person before I had kids.
No, I don't think any of us.
I wasn't that person that's like, oh, it's a baby, I need to hold it.
Absolutely
I was like,
not.
oh, look, it's a baby.
Yeah. Please get it away.
Very nice.
And until it was, until I had my own baby, and I remember thinking while I was pregnant, like, I have no idea what I'm doing. I don't think I read a single book. I was just sort of going with the flow, and then you had that dawning moment before I gave birth where I was like, oh my god, I don't think I actually, well, I know I actually don't know what I'm doing, and I have no idea.
Did you do NCT?
No.
That might have helped.
I know. And then
I didn't either.
yeah, did you not?
No,
But
I
then
did. No, I didn't.
Oh,
Did
I
you?
did. I was on tenterhooks
no, I didn't.
Yeah.
because I knew, like you, I didn't know what I was doing.
No,
I
but
was in
then-
denial though.
Yeah,
Remember that?
She found out at
Yeah.
6 months.
Ooh.
Yeah. So I was in
A friend like
denial.
that who's in racing, she didn't know for the first 4 months, and then she had the baby quite early. So we always say that pregnancy doesn't count because she was barely
I
pregnant.
say that to you, don't I?
Amazon delivery. Yeah.
Yeah, I always say that to you.
Did you feel like you were better for being underprepared going into parenthood? Do you think if you'd have done loads of reading around the topic, you'd have like been more scared than just going through each challenge at a time?
I don't know. I think being a horsey sort of animal person, I was just quite happy to trust my instincts. And I think nowadays, especially with Google, everyone's too quick to research, and the art of trusting your instincts has gone a little bit. And I think actually often as a mum, you kind of know when.
Yeah.
I have to say, as soon as Annalisa was born, that feeling of overwhelm of suddenly being a mum, having a baby, the love that takes over, and the instincts that take over are quite strong if you let them. And I think that was what I was least prepared for. I was like, wow, this all comes quite naturally if you let it. And I wouldn't have said beforehand that I would be a natural parent, because I thought, well, I'm not that baby person, so what am I going to do? And actually, once she was there, I was like, oh,
You did kind of have a son though in Alf.
I
Didn't
did.
you? I think I actually think
Didn't give birth to him though.
I'm
Would have been a bit
so
strange.
pleased to hear that.
Yeah.
No, I think you're right. But for
But
me,
with animals, they can't talk, so you have to listen
Yeah, exactly that.
to what they're trying to tell you, and
Yeah,
trust
try
your
and
instincts and
trust your
try and
instincts
so
then.
I think actually if you let yourself do that with a kid, instead of immediately going, she sneezed and farted at the same time, Google what does that mean?
I think
you know.
I think that it took me a little while to learn that. I think hopefully if I had another one, I would be a lot quicker into it, because I think it took a bit for me to trust my own instincts and be like, no, I know there's something not right with this baby. I don't need to Google it. Do you know what I mean? And take because I don't know if you've had this, but the doctors. I don't know if you had this with your first. When I had Olive, there was 1 week when I took her back to the doctors about 12 times, and they were like,
I didn't have that.
I've not had that.
they were like,
But I know lots of people who did.
they were like, she's fine. I was like, she's got a spot on her face. I think it's a cold sore. She's gonna die of herpes.
Yeah, I definitely didn't have
I
that.
didn't do that, but I know lots of people who did, so I'm not
Okay,
judging.
Thanks. Sorry.
But it's, yeah. I remember thinking she had worms when I'd given her first banana. And you know how the poo goes,
Squiggly.
you've got those lines. And I was like, oh,
She's been
the
eating.
dogs have licked her too much. I've given her worms. Anyway, it was all fine.
Turns out it's just banana.
It's just a banana. Which incidentally she won't eat nowadays.
Oh, no.
Did you tell her about the worms?
No, I don't know what's that. Yeah.
So obviously now you've got the 4 and they're all growing up and you're becoming a real unit, I guess.
Mm.
What would you say, how would you describe each of them in personality?
Oh, crikey. Trying to think of polite words to use for my kids.
I mean, it's okay if they're not polite. You can keep it real.
Oh dear. How real do you want to go? Well, the eldest is probably, she's quite shy and modest if she's out and about, less so at home. She's quite bossy with her dad, but she's very sporty, very tough. She's definitely harder work at home than she is out and about, but she's extremely she's quite go get 'em.
Do you think she'll be the one that goes on to compete at a high level?
Do you know, I think she'll definitely have fun competing ponies and stuff. I don't know if any of mine will go. I'm certainly not going to encourage it. If any of my kids wants to ride at a high level, obviously we will support that, but it's not something I'm going to push down their throats, because I feel like how we started the conversation, it's a bit of a, they have to really want to be there to cope with all of the pressures that they would, and the stuff that would be thrown their way, counterbalancing the opportunity. So
Yeah.
if they want to, then fine, but I'm not, I'm certainly not going to push that down their throats. I'd love them to pick a sport that they get into that sort of gets them through their teenage years and gives them that discipline and that side of things. But nowadays, to be elite at most sports, you have to be elite so early and so full on so early, that you're kind of robbing them of a childhood, and the parents kind of have to make that call, because no kid, even if a kid's like, Annalisa's good at tennis, but if she was going to be super good at tennis, she would now, age 9, have to be playing hours a week. Well, any kid that's into tennis is going to lose their love for tennis if they're...
Yeah, definitely.
I don't know. Yeah. I don't know how it works with those sorts of sports where it is just that intense that early. But anyway, that's another story. But yes, she's really go-get 'em. She loves her sport. She's really sporty. She's a really fun, kind friend. She's
Where does the red hair come from? Going completely off
my
topic.
my family's
My little
riddled with the
girl's
gene.
got red hair.
Riddled.
Are they? Is it you? Is it you?
Yeah, my 3 brothers
Oh.
are ginger. My dad was ginger. My mum's brother was ginger. So both sides of my parents' family have the ginger gene. But in my
Right.
family, it's flipped round. So my kids, it's the girls that are ginger and the boys are blonde.
Yeah, I was going to say you've got the
Yeah.
blonde boys. Yeah, my little
But
girl's
Tommy
got
won't
red
stay
hair.
blonde.
It's so nice,
Really,
isn't it?
yeah.
To have little red-headed girls. I love it.
But Annalisa's red hair with green eyes, and Hanny is red hair with bright blue eyes. So
Yeah, so's Olive. She's got red hair with blue eyes. I think she'll go more Auburn, but yours are quite Auburn-y, aren't they? Yeah, it's lovely. How nice.
I want to hear more about the others.
Oh, Wilfred.
Wilfred.
Is he like your dad?
Yeah.
Is he? I was
He
really
can't
hoping to
do
say
one
that.
thing for more than 2 seconds at a time. And, he's very dexterous. He's already into his racing. He go-karts.
Not horse racing.
No, he doesn't really have a ride. He'll do pony club minicamp once a year, and then intermittently he'll get on if there's like a pony party going on. He'll get on and just go for it.
Probably better than all the
And
others.
smash it. Probably.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a
Smash it
unique
for me.
style. But he's confident, so he's not bothered, so he's fine. But he's also go get him. He's 6, so you don't really know what he's gonna be good at. But he's very, very good at driving already, that's for sure. And he's very, very kind, all about what's fair, what's right and wrong, and he's definitely a complete whirlwind. But a lot of fun to be around. And then Hanny, everyone thinks Wilfred's the naughty one just because he's a whirlwind and crazy, but Hanny's actually the naughty one. Like Wilfred
Legend.
wouldn't know how to tell a lie if he tried, whereas Hanny will
Legend.
absolutely save her skin.
Lie to your face.
Oh,
Point blank.
absolutely.
She's a big
She's
girl,
just
isn't
started
she?
school in September, and a teacher said every time that she doesn't feel like doing what she's meant to be doing, she says she has earache. So
Where did she find that excuse?
I don't know.
Great. I'm
she's
going to say
just-
that to work.
She's already got stuff sussed, really. But she's good fun. Then Tommy's only 2, but so he's just like I was, just clinging on, trying to keep up with what everyone else
he's
is doing.
Isn't he?
He runs very fast already. Just trying to keep up. He loves making everyone else laugh because, you know, at meal times, if he can get a laugh out of the others, he thinks he's made it in life. So that's quite hard. It's quite hard to educate him because whatever he does, someone thinks it's funny. And so
Would you be swearing?
I know he's just, yeah. But they all bring,
Amazing.
they're all very similar and very different, and they all bring lots of different stuff to the table, and they are best mates 1 minute and then they're bickering and killing each other the next, and I can't really keep up, to be honest.
Oh, lovely. No,
And out of your 4,
Who's my favourite?
no, I mean you can tell us if you like. Out of your 4, who rides regularly? So
The girls.
The girls.
both girls.
So the eldest obviously rides, but my other girl, Hanny, she's 5 on Monday actually, so she's nearly 5. She
Hanny.
she likes to ride pretty much every day. She has a strop if she doesn't get to ride. Even, I mean, with her often it's just going
Hanny
for a
sounds
walk with the dogs.
so
and-
fun.
But yeah, she's she loves it. I don't know if she'll, you know, what kind of rider she'll be yet. You know, with Annalisa you can already start to see the sort of, I don't know, she takes a tumble like a champ. Hanny, I don't know yet if she'll take tumbles like a champ or not.
Might
had
get
a few
might
already.
get earache.
She might have earache. She's had a few tumbles already, usually on Mark's watch. Just to throw him under the bus one more time.
Get another one in there.
But yeah, they're both really, really into it. Hanny's still at the stage where it's all about, you know, putting glitter in the pony's tail and fairy rings. And
She sounds so fun.
Whereas
Yeah.
Annalisa would be
Should do a
like,
podcast
glitter.
with her.
The poor
Hanny, oh yeah, she'd hold court for a long
She
time.
sounds great.
The poor ponies.
I know.
Just think about who might follow in your footsteps. Do you think, obviously the girls are the ones that are riding more regularly, but do you think one will be coming back to dressage at any point, Alice? Or
Wouldn't be able to see it at the moment, but then you wouldn't have seen it in me at this age either. So
It's just a matter of time.
I don't think so. I hope not. Anything but dressage, to be honest.
You sound like me.
Alice is really into a polo as well, though.
Is she? That's
But
really
then Mark
fun.
will say things like, girls can play polo, but they shouldn't do it professionally. And you're like, you can't say that.
Don't say that to my girls.
Don't say that to, don't say that to your sister, Mark. And his mum was the most successful female polo player ever. So, yeah, you can't.
Yeah.
But no, I think it's more that it is quite. Now there's more of a girls' polo scene. It's different. But back in the day, if you wanted to be a top female polo player, you played with the men, and that is quite a rough sport. So I can see from a safety point of view, it's not necessarily what you want your daughter to be doing at high level.
Precious little girl.
But no, I don't think if you asked Annalisa right now which discipline, I mean, it certainly wouldn't be dressage, but I mean, I don't think she'd want to have to choose between polo and
Why should
jumping
she?
and all of that.
I'm kind of hoping that we see her at badminton in a few years.
Oh,
I know. I really would love that.
I mean, eventing was my first love in horses, so I would be immensely proud, but I would also have to be highly sedated. So.
You can find some settling.
You heard it here first, chaps.
So if we come to that and I'm sitting there like this, you'll know what's going on.
I think I would be like that. I'm nervous enough to do it on my own.
It's bad enough watching Mark play high level polo.
Yeah, I
at speed.
bet.
It's quite terrifying. I've watched him be knocked out before. That was not fun. Never run so fast in my life.
Alex scares me. He's taking horses up the gallops every day, and they're like 2-year-olds.
Yeah,
like
that's
one
bizarre.
day something is not going to go right. And
Maybe get
You're
the
gonna-
back up. Yeah,
yeah,
get
I
back
think.
up.
So
I've been told several times by other friends that once you got 4 kids, you can't, like, if the husband goes, you're on your own. No one's having you. I'm like, oh, great.
really,
Oh no, someone will.
No
Oh,
one
you'll be
will
fine.
take
You'll
me
be
with my
fine.
4 kids, apparently.
we're on the shelf.
Got to keep them safe.
So while we're on the subject of your kids, I lost my mum 5 years ago, 6 years ago. And so I actually, on a personal note, wanted to ask you how you keep your dad's memory alive within the kids. And I struggle.
Interestingly, my middle two are definitely going through a phase where sort of death and talking of orpan. My grandmother died soon after my dad, and they knew her. So that the whole sort of that concept of death and where they've gone, and you know, they quite often sort of suddenly say, "Oh, I miss Orpan." Actually, you know, they wouldn't really. Wilf and Hanny wouldn't really have a proper memory of him anymore. That's what makes me this sort of saddest. But they have this idea, and they have this idea that they miss him and they want him, and especially Wilfred, because he knows my dad is into so many things, like horses aside, so many things that he's into. And Hanny's named after my grandmother Hanny. So she's often like talking about Oma Hanny, and so Wilfred doesn't understand why can't we write a letter to him, and I was like, well, you can. It's a nice thing to do,
It's
but
a lovely
it's
thing to do, actually.
but yeah, they whereas Annalisa, she does remember Dad, and you know, there's lots more pictures of them together, but they kind of get that because my mum's still around, so they get a fair bit of stories, you know, through her as well, and we have, you know, talk about it. My brothers, we spend a lot of time with my brothers, and so they get a lot of the stories, and you know, Wilfred loves hearing about my dad when he was younger and how naughty he was, because I think it makes Will feel better when he's in trouble.
This is where you get it.
Yeah.
Your name and your personality.
Exactly. So, and he's called Wilfred Simon, and my husband's father is Simon, and I don't think he was an angel either. So we sort of shot ourselves in the foot there.
Wilfred's got no chance.
But yeah, they sort of get the stories, and they I guess, yeah.
I do with Olive. You know, she's tiny. She can't really understand anything, but she does know. There's a photo of me and my mum and my sister on the wall coming down the stairs, and every time, or most of the time when I come downstairs, I say, "Where's your nanny in heaven?" She's like points at my mum, and it's really cute.
Yeah.
She doesn't know what she's pointing at, I don't think, but she will.
She will.
Really interestingly, so my husband's mum passed away the week we found out we were pregnant, and we were living with them at the time, and obviously Rafe's not met her, and he's barely met my husband's family, like as a whole, all the time. And we were down there for New Year, and there's this photo of all of us, bar Rafe obviously, on holiday together, and he is absolutely transfixed by the picture of Leslie, Simon's mum, and I think it's because he hasn't seen her face, you know, in real life.
And he probably sees a bit of himself.
I think
they recognise themselves in those faces as well. I'm sure of it.
I read that somewhere, that it's family recognition, and I think that's why Olive smiles at my mum, because it looks like her family.
I can see my kids. I can see Annalisa and Hanny majorly in my dad, and also in my brothers, and then but Wilfred as well. Like, they all look completely different, yet you can fully see. You know, you catch this glimpse, or it's a mannerism or an expression or something. You're like, whoa, or an eyebrow or something that goes, and you're like, whoa, it's and I guess I just often talk about similarities that they have, and Mum always tells good stories about different things, and I think and I talk about it as well. Like, you know, I'll say to them sometimes, you know, God, I really miss Dad, or Dad would absolutely love that, or in my day, this is what Dad would have done if I'd have done that.
You wouldn't have got away with that with my dad.
Just a look. And so I guess they just infiltrate the conversation.
Yeah, it's sad, isn't it? Because you know that your youngest, my little girls, and I'm never going to meet her, but we talk about my mum enough as well. Like, me and my sister do it all the time to hopefully instill into them that how amazing your dad was.
Yeah,
As he was.
it is really hard. The two of my brothers' kids never met dad and won't know, and it does sometimes make me really sad, because you think at the end of the day, to them it's just a person in stories and stuff. But at the same time, I think generally kids are fascinated enough with the past and the stories. I remember as a kid, I used to always, when my grandparents came to stay in the mornings, that I would always go sneak into bed with them and have stories from when I wanted to hear. My grandmother was my dad's mum. She outlived her husband by quite a while, and I used to love going and just snuggling up in bed and saying, tell me about, the good old days, and she'd just have the best stories, and I used to think it was fascinating.
The weird thing is that our kids are going to grow up and be like, what do you mean, like, you didn't have the internet? What do you mean didn't have this?
But
then I said to the boys in the bath the other day, because they came in freezing cold at the weekend from being out. They came in like ice blocks, and I got them in the hot bath, and I said, you know what, back in the day we would have had to boil the water on the stove and
pour it in.
I'm watching 1883 at the moment, so I'm sort of in that zone. I don't know why I was telling them this. So I was like, we'd have to boil the stove and bring the hot water and pour it into the bath. And Wilfred looked at me and was like, did you have to do that? And I was like, no, I'm not that old. Not me, but they.
How funny.
One of the questions I know that our listeners are going to be really interested in is how on earth you run day-to-day life with 4 children and the horses. So have you got any top tips?
Yeah, have you got any top tips?
For
us?
But on what? But which bit?
Well, dressage would be handy. Any top dressage tips have you got? No.
How do you balance your life so that you don't get a huge amount of horse guilt or mum guilt? Or do you always have one or the other?
No, I try and not live with too much guilt these days. try and be over that now. I think being really organised and knowing, I've in the past, this has taken me a bit of maturity, knowing my limits and actually trying to say no to some stuff and not spread myself too thin all the time. It's quite, you start the year with good intentions, come Christmas time, it's absolute chaos. But in general, I try and be very organised, so, I will be organised about the start of the day and, having breakfast on while I get dressed and then get the kids up and make sure I've got time to get all of that done. I'll drop the kids at school, I'll come home and I'll ride. If I'm teaching, I'll teach over lunch, and then I make sure I'm done by the time I pick the kids up from school with any commitments in the day, so that then from the time that the kids are back from school, I'm on mum time, and anything that fits within those hours is fine. Anything that doesn't is a general no, unless I'm obviously away competing, but that's not that often. Day shows tend to be, local home shows tend to be in the day anyway, so that's, and sometimes, Mark and I'll juggle it. One of us will do drop off, one of us will do pick up, depending on what he's got going on. On the whole, I do both, but that's not to say if he hasn't got a game, he can, we kind of make it work. We definitely don't keep tabs on who's done what. I know, I don't know, I speak to some couples, I don't know, I've heard lots of couples where they're like, oh, it's my turn to do this because he got to do that, or vice versa, and I always think, thank God we don't live our lives like that, because there's phases where obviously one of us is
super present,
having to do more, and phases where the other, and
that's a team.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think that is probably my biggest advice, is making sure as a couple you're a really strong team, because if you're a strong team, then the rest of it sort of works, and on the days where it's not working, you kind of have a laugh about it and pick each other up.
Do you know what? This could cause so many breakups, and the equestrian mum's got followers.
Yeah, if you're not
causing so many divorces.
Right.
No, opposite.
We're joking.
Opposite.
You're the opposite. So we talked a little bit about day-to-day life, and I take my hat off to you because I just don't know how. I don't know how.
I'm in awe of anybody that's got 4 kids, let alone anybody that is competing.
I have help.
Well, yeah, but I'm glad.
Yeah, but
glad you've got help.
Have a parental
I have
responsibility.
since multiple
for
kids.
people.
We've got an amazing nanny who's been with us for 6 years now.
Oh.
And so, but obviously, yeah, weekends and mornings and evenings are still
you,
especially when Mark's away. Those are the tough times when Mark's away. But generally, yeah, no, we've got a great team here, and yeah, even like from the guys on my yard helping out, they're used to a kid pitching up and stealing the broom and running around climbing the hay. And speaking of horse, my horses have had to get used to all sorts, from the electric diggers to the quad bike to the goats being led past sometimes, bicycles, all sorts. Anything can happen here. Anything can happen.
Poor riders.
Well, yeah, my horses have to put up with all sorts, so yeah, it's all good.
Amazing.
So, what does 2024 look like for you?
I have no idea.
I'm so glad that you've said that as well.
I'm in that phase with horses where it's quite hard to know what's going to happen. I've got some really nice upcoming horses, but nothing that's possibly super Grand Prix competitive quite yet.
Who would be your biggest hope? Is it Mooney?
Yeah, but he won't be ready for this year.
He won't be.
No,
How old is he?
he turns 8 this year.
Oh, okay, fine. That's the one that he's lovely.
He's a lovely homebred. And then I've got another one that will be coming into Grand Prix this year, but when they haven't started, I don't know where he's gonna
end up,
come out this year. He is going to be really nice, but not necessarily straight away. So I'm at that phase in training where it's kind of lots of homework, come out, see where they're at, and then continue with the homework. And I think good things are coming, but I don't know exactly when.
We're going to love following you.
Yeah, we will. We'll be your biggest fangirls in the back.
I already have.
We already
have.
And for yourself as an athlete, like, what are you working on to stay competitive? Is there anything you physically or mentally are working on at the moment?
Physically, I do a fair bit. I've got really good hockey, mum's hockey. It's actually mixed hockey. But no, I've got a really good strength and conditioning coach, so I do my bits in the gym, and then just the riding is obviously enough of that. So physically, I'd say I'm in pretty good shape at the moment. Feel good. And then I think I've just had to learn to readjust, and that has taken a bit of time, competitively wise. Or as a competitor, as an athlete, like, not to expect things to feel and be. I can't organise my day or sort of go to a competition with the same feeling that I used to before I had kids. It's not possible anymore. So instead of trying to recreate that, which is an impossible task, I've had to accept that actually I've got to find a new way of what makes me feel comfortable and how to approach competition, and not keep thinking it has to be how it used to be, because it won't be and it can't be. And not necessarily see that as a massive problem, but see that as, what have I gained from being a parent? Because it's not all bad.
Yeah.
But from a competitor's point of view as well, it's not all bad, because you've gained lots of resilience. You have to learn so much about yourself, mentally and physically, when you become a mum. So actually, I've lost a lot of things that used to aid my competitive side, but I've also gained some things, and I think I've gained a lot of perspective, and a bad day won't haunt me the same way as it used to from an equestrian point of view, because you come home, I've got no time to dwell on that. When I get back in the house, it's
full on.
none of my kids care whether my show went well or not.
Well, they don't even think that you should be there.
No, it's like, whatever. Exactly. Shouldn't be there anyway. So yeah,
not fair.
But, you know, nowadays, if I've got one more to ride or I want to go and watch my daughter's hockey match, I'll probably choose the hockey match. And, you know, because I feel like where I can, I do want to be there, and that's okay. I prioritize my day so that my horses, with the ones I do ride, they have my full attention. And if that means riding one less here and there, or changing the order of who I ride so that the ones that get my full attention, that varies as well, then so be it. And I know I haven't got, you know, I'm not going to get them to top level as fast. I have to have a slightly different kind of horse. I couldn't have an Alf nowadays, because Alf needed 110% of me all the time, because that was the kind of person he was, and I don't think he'd have made it if he hadn't have been. But then I've got horses like Mooney, who's, you know, he's a homebred and he's just a dude, and yes, he's sensitive and he needs 110% of me when I'm with him, but he's also very happy being hacked out by one of the girls on the yard, and, you know, in the afternoon. It doesn't have to be me. With Alf, it kind of did need to be me.
Soulmate.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody, we've just had a masterclass in how to manage your life.
If you saw the state of my household sometimes, I wouldn't say you'd be thinking I was managing it that well.
I'd like to end on one final question, if I may, and we ask everybody this that we've interviewed so far.
There's two of you.
Okay. Right, I get it. Okay. Jenny and me.
Jenny, you and Jane.
Jane and Alex.
Oh, gosh, Jane. Oh, and Alex. Yeah, sorry.
Do you have any advice for expecting equestrian parents?
Oh, God, I could write a book.
You should, to be honest. I'll buy it.
Well, probably, you know, trust your instincts, and only listen to the people's opinion that you actually value, if that makes sense. Like, if it's a really good friend or a close family member that you respect and you value their opinion in general, then value their opinion on what you're doing, and just don't worry about everyone else.
Amazing.
Yeah. That's really good advice.
Sound advice.
Really, really good advice. Thank you.
Well, guys, that has been an amazing conversation with Laura Tomlinson. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to speak to us.
So much. We really, really, really appreciate it. And I think that there'll be a lot of people out there that will
benefit from
it. Yeah. That can take a lot from it. Thank you.
I think, it's not about being perfect. It's about doing the best you can. And no one's a perfect parent, but if you're doing it out of a place of love and you're doing your best, then that's all you can do. None of us are going to get everything right.
No, so true.
Definitely not.
I know. Thank you again.
Wow. It's not every day you get to sit down and have a cup of tea with an Olympic medalist, is it? Sophie and I were absolutely thrilled to be spending some time with Laura Tomlinson, as you might be able to tell from that interview there. We really enjoyed getting to know her more, and speaking about some of the experiences that make her, including obviously riding at the very top level, but also parenting 4 awesome little kids. So thank you so much, Laura, for spending the time with us. Obviously, listeners, if you've got any questions for us or comments on this particular episode, let us know. Get in touch. The socials are at Equestrian Mums Club, or you can send us an email, hello@equestrianmumsclub.co.uk. Otherwise, we'll look forward to seeing you on the very next episode. Thanks.
Thanks for listening to another episode from the Equestrian Mums Club. It's been great to have you along for the ride. We've been your hosts, Sophie Conway and Katie Allen Clark. Make sure you hit the follow button to hear more from us as we dig deeper into the world of ponies and parenthood. Until next time, stay smiling, stay safe, and try and stay on.